Welcome to the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report, presented by Yamaha.
Hello, and thanks for tuning in to the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report with Captain Rick Murphy and myself, Brie, Gabrielle. Today we have an awesome studio audience tonight to have fun, right, Rick?
Absolutely, because that's what we have here, big fun.
Big fun.
Big
but
fun.
our other big fun, Mr. Dave Ferrel at the Workbench.
Hey, how you guys doing?
How you doing, Dave? Ready to have some fun with us today?
Yeah, we're talking about snook, one of my favorite things in the world. So
I know.
I'm
It's
happy.
one of Rick's favorite things too, right? Do you
Absolutely.
remember the first species we caught together?
Yes, we did.
It was snook.
It
and
was
we're here to
snook.
talk all about it, so tell us.
It was one cast, one fish, just
One
like
cast,
always.
one fish, one cast wonder.
All right, so let's take a look at the saltwater sportsman pictures, Brie. And the one thing that comes to mind is the big, beautiful mouth. Just like a lot of bass fishermen, they love snook. That you can use the same tackle. Now you have to be careful as you look on the cheek there. He definitely has some razor stuff there that he can cut you with, cut your line. That's why it's important to have 30 or 40 pound test as your bite leader whenever you're fishing with jig, topwater. The other thing that I certainly love about the snook is how good he eats. And guess what? Our season is going to be opening here very soon.
Few days. And also the snook thumb. I just love releasing it and getting that nice little snook thumb you got. I don't know, it's just my thing. But anyway, someone else who also has some snook mojo though is Captain Ronnie Houston with your Southwest Region Report. Go ahead, Ronnie.
Well, like always, it's a pleasure starting off here. You know, over the last several years since the bad freeze we had all through the state of Florida, but with closures and regulations thanks to FWC, the snook has made a good rebound in most of the areas. It's going to take time to be catching plenty of them slot-sized fish, but we are catching some oversized fish. But some things to look at. Typically in the colder months, you can catch snook in the backcountry or concentrated on residential canals, docks, and seawalls, especially at night in the wintertime. But as it warms up, fish will be abundant on outer Gulf points, passes, near-shore wrecks, all along the southwest coast beaches, bridges, and residential canals and seawalls. Now, some important things to consider. Tides play an important role, as well as structural and moving water, especially with heavy concentrations of bait. Now, fronts, barometric pressure, winds, and moon also are important indicators to consider. So when you're catching these fish, try to jot some of those things down and repeat the process. If you catch them repeating the process, then you know that's where you need to be at that time. But if things are different, how you catch them is when you need to be there. But you can also find them with, by chumming live pilchers is an easy way to find them. Just throwing them down the bank, let them flow with the tide. They will come up for those baits, and that's another way to help find the fish, as well as pinfish, mullet, and herring. Cut baits to include ladyfish, mullet on a knocker rig, as well as a variety of artificial walk-the-dog lures, 3 to 5 inch lip plugs, gold and silver spoons, white and chartreuse bucktails, and a variety of 3 to 5 inch soft plastic paddle tails to include the Bass Assassin die dappers, 3 to 5 inch shrimp imitations. You can also fish these fish on fly, and it's very popular to sight fish these on fly. The average size is 18 to 32 inches. Fish can be up to 40 inches. And a real good tip right now with all the rains we're having and all the rain that's approaching, try to hit the spillways right now with some crankbaits, maybe 2 to 6 foot flat-bill crankbaits along the edges of the spillways or along the rocks. That's a good place to be right now where I've been catching several snook. But I got a picture of a snook caught in the region. Had the opportunity to fish with my brother. That's a common snook caught by putting in some hard work and effort down in the Everglades region.
All right, Ronnie,
Also,
before you go any further, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the navionics from the north end of your region. Now, guys, we're talking about the Cape Hayes, Turtle Bay, Bull Bay area. And if we take a look at the sonar soundings that Navionic gives us, the key to this is how when the water falls out of all these bays, look at how you have all these different holes. I also like the fact that when the tide starts coming in, you can position your boat around all of these points where it's going to actually flood. The snook are going to stage there, and then you can fish your pilchers up along the bushes catching snook and redfish. Okay, Ronnie, what else you got for us inshore?
Well, it's funny you mentioned the northern end of the region. We're going to talk about the redfish. Now, right now, you want to concentrate from Gasparilla Pass to Redfish Pass. Now, understand this. With this week, we've got really good incoming water. But to find these redfish is pretty easy. You want to look for the clean water. There's been some changes that have been made. With all the rains we're having, a lot of the water has gotten darker, especially coming out of the rivers. Now, you want to concentrate on the good incoming water, clean water, and mullet schools. Also, fish in the areas out off the edges and potholes following the waters into the mangroves as the water gets high. Now, right now with the early morning, you want to concentrate on topwater plugs, gold spoons, bass assassin 4-inch sea shads and white, copper juice, and mud bug on an 1/8 ounce to a 1/4 ounce jig head. Some chatterbaits, a variety of them have been thrown in the grass and off the edges. But as the water heats up, you want to concentrate on live pinfish, pilchards, and cut herring, mullet, and ladyfish. Now, in the cleaner water, fish are also traveling in groups, small schools, average size maybe 30 to 60 fish. The only issue is right there is several of the fish are oversized. But once you find some of these fish in the slot, they're heavy fish, so work with the mullet and off the edges. Power pole down, move slowly with these fish. You should be able to catch a couple fish this weekend, especially with the good clean water. Now, on the offshore side, the red grouper bite. Great both north and south in the region, but to the south, the depths are going to vary. Concentrate on 40 to 55 feet, and to the north, 65 to 85 feet. Reports are simply drifting artificials, white chartreuse bucktails, also vertical jigging. Now on the bucktails, you can throw them plain, you can tip them with squid, or glowworms and scented curly tails, whether it be white and chartreuse to the bottom. You can also anchor up on ledges and hard bottom using live pinfish, grunts, cut squid, sardines, and herring. Right now, guys, grouper bite is in full swing, especially if we have some good weather. Also on the offshore side, the permit. Stump Pass to Wiggins Pass, fishing most noted wrecks 8 to 20 miles out. Early morning if it's calm or a light breeze. Once you get close to the location of the structure, drift towards the structure. If nobody's been there yet, you can actually see fins poking out of the water. But once the pressure and the heat of the day increases, look for the permit below the surface and up to a 1/4 mile away from the structure, or by drifting and looking on your graph. Fan cast bright-colored bucktails, or number one bait right now is live crabs. Fish right now up to 35 pounds. Guys, keep an eye on the weather over the next couple days. We got some rain approaching. Be safe. Get out and catch some fish over the weekend.
Great report, Ronnie. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Florida Outdoor Experience hotspots from the Southwest region. Captain Ronnie says that this weekend we should go inshore fishing from Pompano, Marco to Estero, fishing the sandbar edges just inside and outside of the passes. Grass flats and troughs using bucktails and tube lures, and then offshore mangrove snapper, wrecks 6 to 15 miles out, chumming pilchards or block chum, dropping back small cut baits and fan cast bucktails that are tipped for those big mangrove snappers. Brie.
All right, Rick, from the Decks and Docks East region is Captain Mike Holliday, who is anxiously waiting for the full moon to strike, right, Mike?
That's it. Friday's full moon. I can't wait for it. That's going to be the last big spawning moon of the summer for snook in the inlets, particularly in my region. There'll be a lot of big fish in the mix, but also fish staging nearby. The Juneau and Lake Worth Piers, Hope Sound Wildlife Refuge, Pepper Park, and North and South Bridges and Fort Pierce. They'll all have good concentrations of snook on them. And as we roll into the open season on Tuesday, those same spots will hold fish, as will the shorelines on both sides of the inlet, and the Coast Guard Station in Jupiter, the A1A Bridge in Jupiter, and the rock piles on both ends of Jensen Public Beach. And the key here now, mullet are already showing up in the surf with a fall mullet run. There's a lot of small pilchards in the surf and around the inlet, and there's some Spanish sardines off Jupiter. So there's plenty of bait, for the snook to focus on. There's also a good nighttime bite around the bridges and docks for the guys that are fishing topwater plug, or like Ronnie, I love that saltwater assassin dye dapper in the mullet colors. At dawn, you can fish the shorelines with 4-inch shads and copper juice or Houdini colors to mimic those pilchards. Average snook's going to be 5 to 15 pounds. A lot of slot fish caught this week, so we should see a pretty good opening season. I got a photo there. That's John Levin. He caught that snook in St. Lucie Inlet this past Saturday. He was fishing with Phil Plaskin, and that fish ate a live pilcher on the incoming tide. The other bite, with a full moon in August, is probably the best moon of the year to target mangrove snapper in the inlets and around the bridges close to the inlets as those big fish come in to spawn. The best fishing is going to be around the rocky jetties at Fort Pierce and at St. Lucie Inlet, but really all the inlets in my regions, the jetties around those will have fish on them. The larger fish are going to be on the upcurrent side of the rock, and they'll feed pretty much throughout the tide. Spanish sardines are by far the top baits, particularly if you can get those juvenile sardines in that 4 to 5 inch range. Although, we caught a nice fish in the inlet this week that had a full 8-inch sardine. Pilchards, threadfins, and sand perch in that same 4 to 5 inch range, as well as finger mullet, are also good baits. And, live shrimp will work great, but, if you use shrimp, you got to expect to weed through the smaller fish. The average snapper is going to be 1 to 2 pounds. They'll be fished to 5 pounds in the mix. I got a photo there of a snapper. Helena Wilkes, she caught that mangrove snapper. That's one of the ones that ate one of those big Spanish sardines for us on the weekend.
All right, Mike, let's go offshore, bud.
Well, the August kingfish bite's one of the most consistent of the year as those fish come to the area working the offshore and nearshore bait schools. The bonita are starting to thin out a bit, so the kings are taking up the slack of the bonita by rounding up the bait pods, and there's fish in 65 to 90 feet of water, really from Vero Beach all the way down to Boynton Inlet. The whole region's got them. The best concentration of fish is on the offshore bar in Fort Pierce, but with the southwest winds earlier in the week, there were fish that charged the beach and came into the Vero Cove, as well as the Kingfish Hole south of St. Lucie Inlet. The real key, find the bait. Wherever the bait is, that's where the fish will be. And if you've been on the water lately, there's a ton of juvenile blue runners in on the beach. And while those are outstanding kingfish baits, a Spanish sardine is still the bait of choice. Jupiter Inlet North is where you're going to find most of those. You can fish it on number 4 wire stinger rig or a triple hook monofilament rig. The key really is to get the bait to swim down. Live mullet, pilchards, and threadfins will also work. Average king's going to be 12 to 20 pounds with bigger fish on the beach. And then with the bonito thinning out and a lot of juvenile blackfin tuna around, the wahoo population has to be really aggressive, particularly on this full moon. That'll get the dawn bite going in 220 to 340 feet of water off Palm Beach County. It's already going right now. Also on Push Button Hill and on the 8 Mile Reef in Martin County and all the way up on the steeples north of Vero. You can high-speed troll with billy bait, Yosemite bonita, or black bards. You can also slow troll, big blue runners or mullet on wire stinger rigs. And whether you troll live baits, troll lures, or rig ballyhoo, or even a swimming mullet with a red and black islander lure in front of it, the key is to get the bait down. And you do that with, either a wire line, a 20 ounce or so trolling lead, a downrigger, or a planer. If you get them down, you'll get more bites. Look for weed lines, rips, edges, or floating debris. And if you hook a fish, pay attention to the depth and lap back around to that same spot, because the smaller fish will school up, or the fish will tend to be on a certain depth on any given day. Average wahoo in my region is going to be 20 to 40 pounds.
All right, Mike, we got a storm coming. What do you think it's going to do to the bass? Give me a report.
Well, we're already getting a lot of water the last couple of weekends, and I was talking to Captain Sean Rush of FloridaTrophyBass.com, and he was telling me that due to all that water from the recent rains, Rodman Reservoir that's just south of Palatka is up about a foot, and it's really made the water dark and tannin stained. And that dark water, it kind of hurts it a little bit because it really heats up quickly. So the bites early in the day from like dawn until about 9:30 or 10 o'clock in the morning. And the dark water also kind of shuts down the artificial bite to the point that it's, borderline non-existent. So the way to go is to fish live wild shiners or domestic shiners if you have to. You can fish them on a float or free line them. Fish around the floating mats of vegetation that are in the deep river bends in the old river channel. They're very well marked, really easy to find. The most consistent action on Rodman, according to Rush, has been in the Kenwood and the Orange Springs areas. And Rush has been averaging like 20 to 40 fish per morning. And here's the nice thing about that. A lot of 6, 7, 8, and 9 pounders in the mix. There's a lot of really big fish, even up to 11 pounds right now. The fishing shuts down completely around noon. But, there's been consistent thunderstorms right about then anyway. So you want to get on the water early, catch a big sack of those stud bass that Rodman is famous for, and be off the water before the clouds heat, start to stack up and the sun starts to beat on you.
All right, great report from the Decks and Docks East region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots that Captain Mike recommends. Inshore, tarpon, Fort Pierce to St. Lucie inlets at night, using live mullet on the outgoing tide. And then offshore, mutton snappers on the Loran Tower ledge. Use pilchard sardines, grunts. Cut the tails off with those live baits to add some scent, Brie.
Okay, well, coming up on the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report, we're swimming on over to the Central West region and then jumping off the deep end with Dave. What you catching, Dave?
We're catching snook.
Snook! Let's go!
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Chevrolet, find new roads. Yamaha, reliability starts here. Contender Boats, performance through innovation. Humminbird, simply, clearly, better. The Florida Lottery, just imagine. Decks and Docks Lumber Company, Florida's dock and seawall supplier. And King Sailfish Mounts, www.kingsailfish.com.
Nice! Chevy's got 3 great deals to choose from this summer. Which works the best with your budget?
I'm drawn to the 0%.
$1,000 cash back. I've never ever thought about leasing a car until I saw that deal.
Which one's your favorite?
0%.
$1,000 always looks nice going in my pocket.
Sorry, I changed my mind.
Now let me tell you something that's super cool. You can choose any one of these deals on any of these cars.
Seriously?
It's gorgeous, man.
This is a nice car.
Oh, I like the stitching.
It's an easy choice. Find your tag and choose your deal for an extra summer bonus.
Yeah, this thing's pretty sweet.
Yamaha's next generation V6 4-strokes are changing the game.
Mid-range power was awesome.
Fuel, the burn, it's unbelievable.
Couldn't believe the speed and the fuel economy is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I couldn't believe the power. It was like it was more like doing a quarter mile on a drag strip.
And them things are like, it's a whole nother game. So I made the switch.
Experience the difference for yourself during the Yamaha Discover V6 Offshore Demo Tour. See why we call it a game changer.
It's been said that a bad day of fishing is better than a good day at the office. But down here in the Florida Keys, we have to disagree. Because with over 200 of the world's best charter boat captains and guides, there's no such thing as a bad day of fishing. The Florida Keys and Key West.
Now it's time for the FWC News and Notes. August 29th is the Harris Chain Boating Course in Ocala. Also August 29th, you can explore from the shore happening throughout the state. September 4th, look out for the Youth Hunt in Indian River County. For more information, visit myfwc.com. But now it's time to go off the deep end.
Well, where Humminbird takes us off the deep end every week here at the CCA Workbench. And Dave, we don't have to go off the deep end to catch a big snook.
No, you can stay in the shallow end. But, you know, I like to go off the deep end. But
all right, so before we get started, what kind of rod and reel are we going to take?
Well, a Samar, that Samar 55 is really good. Something that'll, you know, hold 20-pound, 30-pound braid. You want braid because you can make long casts, and you also, it won't break usually. 60 to 40-pound monofilament leader, you know, depending on the size fish you're going to catch. Now, there's places where I go fishing for snook, or used to when I was a younger fella, around Sebastian Inlet and whatnot. When you're inlet fishing around bridges, we would use Penn Senators.
Big, heavy stuff.
Big, heavy stuff, spooled with 100-pound monofilament, you know, and use a whole croaker for bait because you're catching a 30-pound fish in a current that's ripping, you know.
That was back when you took horse and buggy to the inlet, right?
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I guess something.
All right, so what are we going to use when we get there?
Well, you know, a snook is an ambush predator, and he's looking for, you know, usually a white bait of some sort, a herring, a pilchard, a mullet. If you want to catch a really big snook, your best bet is a big mullet on a circle hook. And some of the canals around West Palm and back up in Lauderdale and those residential canals, a big honking mullet, one of the biggest mullets you can catch, you put a big circle hook in there and let him sit out there all night. And before too long, and I guarantee in a week or so, you'll catch one that'll just scare you.
I know.
Because I've seen some that look like tarpon back in there. I mean, just monsters. And
Well, you know what else? And that's a great point. The other thing that happens when you're using, as you say, the honkin' mullet,
Yes.
is you eliminate that 15, that 18-pound
Right.
fish from biting.
Right.
That's how you catch a fish in the 25, the 30-pound range.
Even bigger, yeah.
Having a bait that the 18-pounder can't eat. Agreed?
It's not like a trout. You know, a little trout will eat a huge bait. A big snook will eat a small bait, but a great big snook wants a big bait, and a little snook won't try to eat a mullet that's as big as he is.
Now, what if you're an artificial guy? What are we going to use?
Well, that's what I like to use. I'm a big fan of, obviously, the topwater plug, any kind of topwater, you know, skitter walks or the chug bugs. If you catch 10 to my 1 and I catch mine on a topwater plug, I'm happy. You know? Because I like to see them eat. You know, I'd rather watch them eat than anything. And a big shrimp, you know, imitation is a good bait. Any of the mirror lures are great for, you know, there's some mirror lures down there. A miradine, when the fish are up schooling and eating little white baits, you can't hardly beat those either.
You got to remember too, Dave, that if shrimp are in the inlet, then you're going to use shrimp.
Right.
If your bait fish are in the inlet, we're going to use something that's a bait fish.
A snook is a lot like just about every other predator. They eat the most of whatever is around at the time. If the shrimp are on a big run, they're eating the shrimp. If the mullet are running, they're going to eat a mullet. So you want to try to get back to, you know, what's matching the hatch, you know, like they say. The first snook I ever caught, I caught on that jig right there on a white hook-up bucktail jig. It was the first snook I ever caught in Fort Pierce. It was a long time ago.
Now, some of the new stuff that's come out, Dave, I think you'll agree, is now we're actually making plastics that silhouette that finger mullet.
They look like a lure, you know, a hard-bodied lure, and they have a nice fat profile.
Right.
And it triggers a bite, you know, especially at night. Snook are very, very active at night. We talk a lot about fishing for them in the daytime. They're really serious guys. The really serious snook fishermen do all their fishing at night. And once you do catch them, you want to make sure you treat them right. A boger grip is a good way to, you know, to handle a fish outside the boat. You know, you don't even have to pull them out of the water if you don't want to. You know, to take a quick picture while the fish is in the water is even better than pulling it out. You know, I don't like to pull fish out of the water unless I'm going to kill them. You know, if I'm going to take them to eat. So I usually let all my fish go while they're still in the water. And you know, use a net. You know, use a net. A lot of guys in saltwater don't use a net. And a good fish-safe net like this one that's made out of rubber and doesn't catch your hooks. It's easy on the fish. It supports all his body weight, which is very important when you have a big snook or something. So
good job.
Use a net to land your fish.
All right. Well, Brie, she uses a net to land her boy Joe. So Brie, let's go on.
Thank you, Ray. That was sweet of you. Remember, if you have snook pictures you would like to share with us, we want you to post them on Instagram or Facebook using the hashtag CFIFR. Of course, that stands for Kafiffer. And now from a guy who loves taking pictures, especially of some big snook, is Captain Jeff Page in the Central West region. Hey, Page.
Hey, Brie. You know, summertime is snook time in the Startron Central West region, and although we may not have that big Mike Holiday model, we have plenty of quality snook and a variety of ways to catch them. First and foremost, you know, I heard Dave and Rick talking, you know, the live bait, and 90% of the live bait the guys use here are going to be free-lined live bait, such as pilchards, pinfish, grunts, silver mullet, and then, you know, big ladyfish and big black mullet at night around the jetties and stuff. But the free-line stuff in the daytime, they're going to be the smaller stuff like pilchards, pinfish, and grunts. You can use those in all your inlets, passes, and they're going to produce good fish. The same game's going to work on the higher stages of the tide, casting your baits, the same baits, up against the mangroves or over oyster bars, and they're going to catch your snook as well. As for lures, topwater plugs, like the super spooks or the skitter walks, and this time of year, the bone chartreuse works real well. And you want to throw those early in the morning or late in the evening. Incoming time seems to be better because the grass isn't as bad. And you're going to cast it in and around the bait schools, such as smaller mullets, pilchards, or what I like, a mixture of both. They're going to produce. And then last, I heard Dave say about the nighttime action. Probably this time of year, you're going to get a lot better bites, and you're going to get a lot bigger fish and a lot more cooperative fish because, number one, the boat traffic's less. Number two, the water temperature's down a little, and the fish are going to feed a little better. Live free-line shrimp work real well. Pilchards, And then if you like throwing flies, the white clouser's hard to beat, or a subsurface lipped plug like that small Ghost White Rapala X-Rap are tough to beat. I've got a snook photo tonight of a good friend of mine, Dave Greenwood of Palmetto, Florida, with a nice snook he got with me a couple weeks ago.
All right, what do you got else for us inshore, Jeffrey?
Inshore redfish. The late summer redfish bite remains strong with schools of fish showing up on the bars and flats of Teresea Bay, as well as down south in Gasparilla Sound. In the AM, Rick, when the winds are down, look for the fish up on top of the water, push in, and you're going to notice the difference between a school of redfish and a school of mullet. Those redfish really push that water, and they're going to be up on top. You can throw plugs in them, you can throw subsurface lures in them, or you can throw the old standby quarter-ounce gold spoon. When the tide gets up, you want to get up along the mangroves and the oyster bars, just like I mentioned with the snook, in Widdens Creek and Catfish Creek, and also on the west wall down in Charlotte Harbor and in Palmasola Bay, Long Bar area, and then over in the Tarpon Key and Jackass Key area. Some soft plastics that work real well are the Saltwater Assassin 4-inch sea shad rigged on a quarter-ounce jig head in the molting pattern, or chunk ladyfish up around the bushes. Redfish are averaging 24 to 32 inches. I've got a photo tonight of Greg Knopf and Jake Miller of Family Boating Center, Tampa, with a couple nice reds they got with me yesterday.
All right, let's go offshore, Pop.
Offshore, red grouper, Captain Jason Sherrill, the Bad Habit Sport Fish out of Venice, says the red grouper bite has been really strong this summer, even though the water's real hot, and his clients are catching the fish on the first and second stop of the trip. They're usually limiting out, and this can be in as close to 65, 75 feet of water. The key, Rick, has been finding small areas of Swiss cheese bottom and really paying attention to your bottom machine. The gags are eating as well, but the red groupers are eating the frozen sardines just about as well as they are the live pinfish and cigar minnows, and they're averaging 22 to 30 inches. I've got a photo of some happy clients with a whole limit of red groupers at the dock.
You got 20 seconds to tell me about the permit.
Fishing, lots of permits holding on the 7 to 11 mile artificial reefs and wrecks. Slick, calm mornings, which we've had for the last week, have been real easy to spot the fish up on top. Throw a free line crab at them, cast up ahead of them, reel it down to them, and hang on. I suggest using 25 fluorocarbon on them. Everybody get you a Chevy truck, and it's still not too late to join the CCA Star.
All right, great report from the StarTron Central West region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the sea sucker hotspots. Inshore, snook fish the dock lights and bridges from Sarasota to Big Pass, south to Stump Pass on the nighttime incoming tide. And then offshore, red groupers, lots of 20 to 30-inch fish holding on the Swiss cheese bottom. And so, where else are we going?
Well, Rick, I like your hat backwards, by
You
the
do?
way.
A little sassy.
A little sassy. Coming up, we are checking in with the Keys and Northwest region, so stick around. We'll be right back.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. Blue Water Outriggers, everything for your outdoor adventures. Guy Harvey Clothing by AFTCO. Drummond Community Bank. Costa Sunglasses. See what's out there. And Casa Vieja Lodge, 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala.
Is it time to change your headlights?
Let it rip. These are on?
Don't go around in the dark. Get Wagner headlights at Bennett Auto Supply. You want the protection, performance, and peace of mind only Wagner headlights can deliver.
Do it.
That's what I'm talking about. Bennett Auto Supply. Do it yourself, not alone.
I'm Captain Rick Murphy, and I'm a life member of CCA. Why am I so involved with CCA, you ask? Because I want our fisheries to be in better shape for my kids and their kids. CCA is working to ensure the future of recreational fisheries and the rights of recreational anglers. The future of fishing starts today with you. How do you want to leave things with your kids? If you're like me, you'll want to make the right choice and go to joinccaflorida.com right now.
Mar Lodge, Guatemala.
There are 2 cages in this room. The one on your right is made out of high-strength steel, and the other is made of aluminum. Now I'm going to release a 700-pound grizzly bear into the room, so you better pick a cage and get in it.
This is crazy. Oh my goodness. Ooh.
Why did you pick the steel cage?
Harder for the bear to get in the steel.
You want to see something else made with high-strength steel? That's the Chevy Silverado, made with high-strength steel for high-strength dependability.
Beautiful. This is highly irregular.
You ever get tired of talking to an automated machine or being put on hold forever? Well, at First National Bank of South Florida, that won't happen. First National Bank of South Florida has over 80 years of leadership, financial stability, and service excellence. They have always prided themselves in providing a level of performance that consistently puts their customers' financial needs first. Today, First National Bank of South Florida remains a community bank with deep roots in our community, committed to excellence and new and innovative ideas. I personally bank at First National Bank of South Florida because they offer a wide range of personal and business banking services. They understand that some customers require the use of many services and have a great deal of activity, while others have limited activity. Every customer is different with a different goal, and the objectives of the staff is to make sure that you have the right banking product and services to fit your individual needs. Every day, First National Bank of South Florida brings integrity and the sense of passion to their work so that they can establish lasting client relationships. The team of banking professionals wants to be the bank of choice in each of the markets they serve by offering impeccable service and a complete line of competitive products. As a community bank, they emphasize employee engagement with courteous and responsive customer service. Whether you want to cultivate your savings, purchase a new home, or manage your accounts online, they are here to meet your needs. Their friendly and knowledgeable staff will put you first and give you the sense of community that every customer deserves. Whether you are in need of a Chevy truck loan or want to repower your contender with a new Yamaha, or maybe it's a house or small business loan, contact First National Bank of South Florida at 1stnatbank.com.
Okay, Rick, tonight is the night we've been waiting for. We're announcing the Decks and Docks winner, who's already been chosen.
That's right.
Can you believe that? To see if you won, go to Capt Rick Murphy on Instagram, and at the end of the show, we'll announce the winner on the air. So stick around to find out who it is.
We're
excited. You do?
Yeah, man.
I don't.
Uh-huh.
Surprise, surprise. Okay, well, even among all this excitement, we're going to shoot on south to the Keys region where Captain Randy Towle has your weekend bite report. Let's hear it, Randy.
Hey, good evening, fish fans. You know, I've been talking about snook for the last couple of months, and we've had a great snook bite in the backcountry around Flamingo and out to the west. And some of the beaches, the shorelines, really depends on what type of fishing you like to do. Now, up on top of the flats, there's guys with technical skiffs. They like to get up shallow and sight cast to snook laying on top of the flats or cruising. They're pretty challenging. They're hard to get to feed, but you can catch them, and guys are doing that. Probably the big draw is more in the deeper water, the dirty water, where a live pinfish on a quarter-ounce hookup works really well. Now, tides are critical. The incoming tide lately has been the favorable tide for a good bite, well, where the outgoing tide has been a little bit slower with that water temperature, especially in the afternoon, getting a little hot, so those fish don't seem to cooperate too much. But very good bite around that area. I have a photo of Karina from Fort Lauderdale fishing with her boyfriend, Hunter Gill, from Fort Lauderdale, and you can see she's using her brand new Signature Series rod, and that's her first snook.
That's a big snook there, Randy. What else you got for me in short?
Redfish, we got to talk about the reds. You know, this time of year, August, September, great redfish bite up on the flats now. You're going to find schooling fish right now, fish that are maybe 10 to 50 fish in a school, and a lot of times you'll be running along some of the channels, not on top of the flat, but actually in the channels, and you'll spook these fish. You'll see them waking. You'll see them pushing up on the flats. A lot of times you can stop the boat and pole over to them and get some pretty good fishing in. Now, a gold spoon on a spinning rod tipped with a piece of shrimp is a sure thing to get a bite from a redfish. And if you're a fly angler, it's even it's even great because these fish are usually pretty friendly to bite your fly, and as long as you get in front of them and you make a good cast, you're probably going to get a pretty good bite out of them. Now, I've got a photo as well. Young Devin Wolf, an up-and-coming fly angler here in Islamorada, fishing with his buddy Paul Ross with his first redfish on his fly rod.
All right, let's go offshore, Bub.
Dolphin. You know, here we are coming into September. The dolphin bite is still very strong right now. 500 to 800 feet, a pretty good bite of dolphin. Birds, scattered weed, and, you know, sometimes you get out there and you don't see the birds, and you get along the weed lines, and you can actually stop on some of these weed patches, and the dolphin will swim up to you. So you never want to overlook the conditions being favorable. You know, grass with bait under it is a good sign, or if you find the birds, you know, get lined up with them. But I like to get out there, troll a couple of ballyhoos, and look. I get up in the tower, I look for fish under the weeds, I look for the birds, and a lot of times you can get lined up on these fish, and especially if you've got a bait out, like ballyhoos or a small lure, you can get jumped by a nice 30-pounder while you're trying to get lined up for the migrating fish that are swimming into the current or up to the northeast. Right now, it's been a pretty good bite the last couple of days, some schoolies and also some big fish in the 30-pound range.
All right, what else you got? Go ahead.
Blackfin tunas right now are pretty hot. It's been really good with the overcast and some of the stormy days we've had, and some of these fish are big. Now, if you want to target the big ones, it's a lot of work. You're going to have to catch your live bait. You're going to have to get out there early. There's a lot of work versus going out there with the troll with a couple of black or pink worms, slow and nice and easy, catching some fish for dinner. You can get that done pretty easy, but the big ones, these 20 to 30 pounders, you will catch on live bait. You get out there on some of these humps, throw out a scoop of pilchards, might be 20 or 30 that you throw out at a time, then put your hook in a couple and drift over top of the hump, and you're going to find some real nice tunas. Now, Captain Brian Cohn on the Contagious, he's one of the best at doing this, and he's got a photo he sent me of Matt McGuire, Wyland Linton, Nick Blacklock, Nick Corpan, and Jacob Kassman with a bite they had on blackfin tunas at the Marathon Hump.
All right, great report, Randy. Those guys could open up a sushi restaurant with all that. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the La Jolla hotspots from the Florida Keys. Inshore redfish. Look on the top of the flats, in sight of flamingo on the low rising tide, or try a live pinfish on a quarter-ounce hookup in the runoffs on the bottom of the tide. And then offshore, blackfin tunas. Look on the humps offshore of Islamorada and Marathon. Troll black or pink worms slow, or drift with a live pilchard for those big ones that they just caught, Brie.
Oh, Randy's pictures sure caught your attention tonight, didn't they, Rick?
Yes, they did.
Yes, they did. Okay,
Whoa.
Now it's time to tell you about some tournaments in the Florida Keys. The Herman Lucerne Memorial Tournament, scheduled for September 18th through the 20th in Islamorada, distinguishes the overall grand champion as an individual angler who catches at least 4 of the 7 eligible species, including black drum, bonefish, redfish, snook, snapper, tarpon, and sea trout. One of the oldest angling competitions in the Keys, the Marathon International Bonefish Tournament, is set for September 24th through the 27th, and it features a number of divisions, including the Wet Pants Champion title. The Robert James Sales Baybone Celebrity Tournament is set for October 9th through the 11th in Key Largo and targets bonefish and permit. It's the second of 3 Keys fall tournaments that raises money for cystic fibrosis treatment and research. The 3-day Islamorada Fall All-Tackle Bonefish and Permit Championship is set for October 11th through the 14th in Islamorada and attracts energized newcomers to face seasoned veterans. Maverick Boat Company Florida Owners Tournament is set for September 24th through the 27th in Islamorada. This Keys tournament staple is going on its 29th straight year, and it's a family event for Maverick, Hughes, Pathfinder, and Cobia owners. Okay, Rick, well, without further ado, let's hear from our trusty correspondent in the Florida Keys and in Newman.
Well, hey, Brie, the Mad Dog Mandage Fishing Classic we're going to talk about tonight, and it's set for October 9th and 10th in Islamorada. Now, anglers can choose to compete in either offshore or inshore divisions. Offshore points awarded for dolphin, kingfish, tuna, wahoo, snapper, and grouper. In the backcountry division, mangrove snapper, spotted sea trout, redfish, snook, and tarpon will be targeted. This tournament, Brie, honors the memory of Jim Mad Dog Mandich. Folks in South Florida remember that he was a former Miami Dolphins tight end. He lost his life to cancer in 2011, so the tournament will serve as a fundraiser for Mariners Hospital Oncology Services. More details, go to maddogclassic.com. Of course, for additional information on all tournaments in the Florida Keys, visit the Keys website at flakeys.com. Now, Brie, we're really looking forward to having Insider in the Keys next week, next Wednesday to be exact. But, gee, can't you come? We'd sure much rather have Miss Florida than Rick.
Oh, wow. That's very sweet of you, Andy. I'll be here with Jim Ross in the studio while you're gracing the Keys with your presence. Right, Rick?
That's right, but you know, you're the bus driver.
I'm the bus driver, so let's drive that bus. September 2nd, we will be transmitting our show from the Postcard Inn in Isla Mirada. So if you're free, come and join us. And you could even win a 4-night stay at the Postcard Inn and a fishing trip with our very own captain, Randy Tao. Go to our Facebook page for more details.
It's going to be so much fun.
I
love that place. It's so cool.
Cool.
It's
Well,
awesome.
we'll hear it from you next week.
Yes, you will.
But now we're going to hear from Captain Jeff Hageman in the Yeti Northwest region. Hey, Hag.
How you doing?
Pretty good.
Snook can be caught in pretty much half my region. The other half of my region, it gets pretty cold. They're not found up there. About Wackasass is about the limit, and we've been actually getting a pretty good number of fish around Crystal River and Homosassa where you can actually go out and target them consistently. And that's kind of neat for us since we've had that freeze, and our fish have been rebounding pretty good since that freeze. And we've got a lot of new snook now and a lot of them. But down towards my region, you're going to find most of your fish around the beaches, the passes, mangrove shorelines, creek mouth, river mouth, anything like that that's going to hold fish that's any kind of depression, any deep water, any current situation is where you're going to find these fish. They're ambush predators, so they're going to be looking at places to ambush fish, like docks, passes, and all that stuff with good tidal flow. Pinfish, sardines, two of the best bait out there to catch them with as far as artificials go. Skitter walk, chub walk, flukes in the 5-inch New Penny and white on the beach works really good. And I've got a photo here of Captain Mario Costello. Now, this is a Crystal River fish with Captain Mike Anderson, and he was up there filming a show, and they took a nice picture of a nice fish up there. That's really a big snook. Captain Mike's a big guy, so it doesn't actually look that big, but that's a nice fish.
Yeah, that guy's a big guy for 6'6", but you know. All right, let's go. What else you got for me inshore? Keep moving.
Don't be jealous.
Captain Jamie Goodwin of GoFloridaFishing.com reports a great redfish right now in lower Tampa Bay. You want to fish that top of the incoming tide, beginning of the outgoing tide. Fish right now are in small, medium, and large schools down there. You want to target these fish, get in there as quietly as you can, small hidden fish and sardines under a float or free lines, then the bait of choice. Moving off, and I got a photo here of a couple of wounded warriors that were out with me from the Black Dagger hunting group with a couple of nice Tampa Bay redfish caught down in that area.
All right, looking good. Let's go offshore, Bup.
Captain Harry Connor of Hook 'em Harry Connors out of St. Pete reports a big grouper bite right now. I'm talking about gag grouper in 55 to 75 feet of water. He's fishing major structure, ledges, rock piles right now, live pinfish and live sardines on a standard bottom rig and doing the trick. Anything from 80 to 125-pound test, fluorocarbon leader, 6 to 8 ounces of lead depending on the tide, and 5 to 8-ounce circle hooks depending on the size of bait you're using. Heavy tackle right now is a must. There's a lot of big fish right now, and if you get one hung up down there, he's going to shut your bite down. So you want to get him off the bottom and up to you as quick as possible. Also offshore, got a little bit of a mixed bag off of Bayport right now in 35 to 55 feet of water. Grunts, hogfish, sea bass. Now this is something everybody can go do. You don't have to have great numbers to go do this. There's a lot of public reefs up there. There's that flat rock, and that flat rock is what you're looking for up there in the north part of my little area there in Bayport area. And you want to get out there with sea fans, hard bottom. You don't want a lot of ledges, a lot of rocks, is where you're going to find most of these fish. But a chum bag down on the bottom, chicken rig with squid or shrimp will work great. Multiple hook rig, you can bring up a couple fish at a time and get those fish fired up. You'll be using fluorocarbon. Once you get the grunts fired up and the sea bass fired up, the hogfish will move in. You'll start catching some hogfish too. And it's a great way and a lot of fun to take out with your family, do some offshore fishing.
All right, thanks, Hag. Great report from the Yeti Northwest region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Drummond Community Bank hotspots from the Northwest region. Inshore, redfish bite on the top of the tide. Look for the schooling fish. Live baits have been working the best. And then offshore, gag groupers. The bite has been good in 55 to 75 feet of water over the rock piles and ledges. Hand-sized pinfish for bait.
Rick.
Yes.
All right, coming up on the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report, we're taking a short trip to the Southeast region and then seeing what new swag Dave has for us at the CCA Workbench. Stay tuned. Looking swaggy.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by the Florida Keys and Key West. Come as you are. Hookup Lures, premium lures for serious anglers. FWC, the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. La Jolla Resort, a place for family and fishermen. Navionics, we start where the road ends. Maverick Boat Company, celebrating 30 years of leadership in innovation, conservation, and stability. And First National Bank, your first choice for better banking.
At Yamaha, reliability is a family tradition. Meet the next generation. 4 new advanced technology-inspired inline 4-cylinder performers. Bred from the reliability and boater satisfaction that is part of Yamaha's DNA. They prove that when power gets lighter, faster, stronger, and smarter, boating gets even better. And more satisfying for boaters like you.
You know there's more to it than luck. There's fishing the right bait, the water temperature, the wind, the season, and then there's the boat. We'll put it simply, the boat matters. To own a Contender is to own the best sport fishing boat on the market, period. Contender offers the most comprehensive model range with bigger, faster, and more fuel-efficient boats than the competition. There's only one choice for serious anglers. Contender Boats. Performance through innovation.
Hey, you remember when we were hanging out last night? You know, me, you, Gail.
That's my girl.
You guys are awesome. And then you went to bed.
I was tired.
You were super tired. And it was just me and Gail.
Mm-hmm.
Alone.
What?
Yeah!
It's all in the paws. New Shadow Wrap from Rapala.
Hello, I'm Cynthia O'Connell, the Secretary of the Florida Lottery.
And I'm Guy Harvey. We're excited to partner again in support of the everyday heroes who help educate, serve, and protect all of us in the beautiful state of Florida.
And together, we will continue inspiring and supporting students in their pursuit of a brighter future and becoming tomorrow's heroes in science, art, and conservation.
So let's help more Florida students realize their dreams.
Just imagine.
Well, we're over here at the CCA Workbench like we are every week, and we got some really cool, unique products
Cool
this week,
stuff.
Dave.
Yep, this is made by a fella in Florida here, Eric Vetter. He makes 2 models of these racks. They're called Nice Racks, and this is the Offshore model. And you can tell it's the Offshore model. It's only got 6 holes, but they're big and wide apart. They're spaced far enough apart so you can put 50s and 30s and stuff in here and 80s, and you don't have to worry about, you know, spinning them around and making sure they all fit. He also makes another one, which is down there, is the Inshore model, and it holds 8 rods and reels, you know, spinning reels and whatnot. And it's made out of starboard. You can get them in a starboard color, the walnut, or a natural color in any of the configurations.
Now these, obviously I see a hole here so that we can use them and drill them into the wall if you want them up off the wall.
Yep, so you put them on your baseboard really, because these are made to be sitting on the floor, and then you put this on your baseboard so it keeps it from, you know, falling over. If you get a bunch of 80s in here and get a little kid, you know, wanting to grab on them, they could fall on them. So, but you just put this against the wall and it won't go anywhere.
All right, I like it. Good job. What else
pretty
we
neat.
got? We got some standard stuff.
This is a pretty cool thing out here. This is a new marine products. It's a fish cleaning table called the Niagara cleaning table. And what's special about this one is, if you notice on the right hand side here, it's got a hose. It's got a hose attachment, and what it does is it sends a little waterfall of water across your cleaning table the whole time that you're cleaning a fish. And it keeps it's slanted down so all the stuff runs out the back. It's got rounded corners so stuff can't get stuck in it. You can actually get them, you know, with an enclosed bottom, a little T-top on them. This one has a cup holder and a knife rack on one end. You can have that on there or not if you don't want to.
See, it's an accessory to all the decks and dock warehouses. So
Correct.
you can order those if you're updating your dock.
Yeah, and put that right on the end of your dock. It's a,
Yeah,
it's a
man.
great thing to have.
I dig it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Everybody needs a cleaning station.
Oh,
you know,
yes.
you're always digging for one anyway.
It's going to be hard for
So,
them to get that one back. They think they're going to get it back, but
Yeah.
no.
No. The next thing we got here, this is a really cool thing. This is the Spot. And the Spot's been around for probably around 6 or 7 years now. This is the Gen 3. And what the Spot is good for, it's a satellite receiver and transceiver, actually. And what you can do is you can program a message in there and send it to your family, an okay message saying, hey, I'm okay, or you can, you know.
Hey, I'm never coming home.
Exactly. There's an SOS button on there, and there's an assist button. There's an assist button for if you're not in terrible peril, just
Yeah.
a little bit of peril. You can send a thing to your friends, hey, I'm having some trouble, you know, come and help me. Or you can hit the SOS button, and that thing will track you. Once you hit that track button on there too, it'll track you wherever you go, and people can keep track of you, you know.
Maybe
so you
this
might not
is-
want your wife to have that.
I tell you what, this is something that I think all the young kids that are going
Oh,
out
they
in
should
boats,
have one.
They should have one.
And
for
either
sure.
that and an EPIRB too, you know.
Yeah, man.
Obviously, you should have an EPIRB too. But that Spot thing, you know, you attach that thing to your wrist or your belt buckle or whatever,
They gonna find
and you're going to find you at least. So, anyway, this is a Malin multi-purpose wire. Malin, they make all the stainless. I use all their stainless steel wire to fish with. But this is an all-purpose stainless steel wire. It's a 1-pound spool. You know, I used to do some iron work when I was a younger man, and that whole spool of wire thing kind of freaks me out because I used to tie iron with it. And but this is 50-pound wire. You can do all kinds of stuff with it. You can attach your screen door on your trailer. You could put your license plate on your trailer and for your boat. You can do anything with that wire, and it's great to have, and it's stainless steel wire, and Malin makes a big pile of it for you, so it just comes right out of there. You can put that on your belt if you want to.
You know what? After the show's over, maybe we can tie Brie up with that wire.
Also for Malin, we got some cable shark rigs.
Cool.
You know, those are, people are catching a lot of sharks now. Those are got 10-aught stainless steel hooks. This one's got the black coated wire. It's 400-pound twisted cable in there. It's not going to break. I'd prefer they had a circle hook on there, but you know, a J-hook cable shark rig, if you just make sure you set the hook immediately when you fish, eat your bait, so you don't gut hook them, because you want to let them go anyway.
Good advice.
Most sharks anyway.
Good job over here tonight at the workbench.
Well, that's my job.
Brie, it's turn for you to keep continuing to do a good job.
I'll continue to do a good job while you're passing it on. Guys, don't forget, we've got the Decks and Docks winner. So if you go to Captain Rick Murphy on his Instagram, you can see who won, and we're going to announce it at the end of the show. But down in the southeast region, I hear Captain Jimbo Thomas frequently joins the Snook at the popular kids table. That is when he isn't fishing in St. Thomas or Bimini. Right, Jimbo?
That's correct, Brie. Hey, Rick. Hey,
What's
Mr.
going on,
Ferrel.
Jimbo?
Well, you know, snook are one of the most popular inshore species here in the southeast region. We find them in just about any body of water. There's probably as many caught from the boat as there are from the shore. All the lit bridges and docks of the ICW, those are great places to look for snook, as well as any of the inlets, creeks, mangrove shorelines, off the beaches, and in a lot of the freshwater lakes and canals. Most popular baits are live shrimp, live mullet, pinfish, pilchards, croakers, bucktail jigs, soft plastics, swimming plugs, and jerk baits, along with a lot of other stuff. The basic snook tackle is a medium to heavy spinner or plug casting outfit in 12 to 30 pound braid or monofilament line and 30 to 50 pound fluorocarbon or monofilament leader. And when you use live baits, it's best to use the circle hook since a lot of these fish are released. Now lately, all the inlets, they've been really great snook fishing hotspots, and you want to use live baits on a Jupiter rig or bounce jigs along the bottom. It's mostly in the evenings and on any tide, just so long as the water is moving. Then in the north end of the region, from Boca Inlet to Lake Worth Inlet, the snook are being found along the beaches, mainly in the morning as they cruise these deeper troughs that run parallel to the beach. You can catch them on sight fishing with both live and artificial baits.
All right, let's
and
keep
same
going inshore. Yeah, keep going, Jimbo.
You got it. Well, we got bonefish. They've been active in South Biscayne Bay lately, and with the calm weather, and hopefully it holds out, we'll have to see what happens with the storm. But it's made for great sight fishing. The bonefishing has been best on the higher stages of the tide, on the flats that have good current or good water flow. Now, the oceanside flats from Sands and Boca Chica Key, they've been productive on the tops of the high tide. And if you're willing to wake up early and get out there early in the morning before sunrise, the chances of finding tailing fish are the best. The best baits have been small live crabs or shrimp in 1/8 to 1/4 ounce pink or brown skimmer jigs and crab pattern flies. I got a photo here. This is Joe Gonzalez Jr., and he was out with his dad on a do-it-yourself mission, and this is a decent summertime bonefish. And again, he was with his dad, Captain Joe Gonzalez.
Let's go
moving
offshore.
Offshore, the dolphin fishing in the last week, it's been as good as it gets. There's been loads of schoolie dolphin in the 3 to 6 pound range, with plenty of larger fish up to 35 pounds. And they've been anywhere from 8 to 15 miles offshore. And they've been under big patches of sargassum and weed line. Now, we do have a full moon coming up this Saturday, so I'm not really sure what the effect will have on the fishing. But even if it's half as good as it has been, it should be really good. Now, the fish have been eating live baits, and it's been best if you can find these live baits. That's what's been working the best. We've been catching a few on the small blue runners under the weed patches, but it's been worth catching these baits under those weed patches. Otherwise, we've been catching them on trolled rig ballyhoo, small feathers, and lures. We've been getting quite a few on the cut ballyhoo and bonita, but we've been encountering some of the schools that have been very finicky, and then others that they've been eating everything that you throw in the water. And we've also been finding a few under the birds, so keep an eye out for any bird activity. Now, we got a photo here. This has been a typical day in the last week aboard the Thomas Flyer, with plenty of fish in the 25-pound range. Now, also in offshore, the nighttime snapper bite continues to be really good, and after this week's full moon, it probably will start to taper off. But the mangrove snapper in the 1 to 3 pound range, with larger ones up to 6 pounds, and mutton snapper in the 6 to 8 pound range, they're being found on the outside reef in anywhere from 40 to 80 feet of water. Best fish for the mangrove have been live pilchard and dead sardines. You want to fish them on a knocker rig with 30 to 50 pound fluorocarbon leaders and 1/0 to 3/0 hooks. Most of the mutton snappers, they're being caught on live or cut goggle eyes, and both the pilchards and the goggle eyes have been coming up in the lights of your boat, and catching a good supply of live baits hasn't been much of a problem on a Sabika rig. And the best bite seems to be starting around 10 o'clock in the evening.
All right, thank you, Jimbo. Great report from the Captain Harry's Southeast region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the First National Bank of South Florida hotspots inshore. Drift live crabs in the evening through your local inlet for the snook and the occasional tarpon. And then offshore, troll or live bait for dolphin offshore, 8 to 10 miles around the weeds and under the birds.
Okay, well, we hope you've been enjoying the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report. When we come back, if you're fishing in the Central East or Northeast regions this weekend, you're in luck. So stay hooked. Dang, look at that trout. Woo, woo.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Rapala. Catch the latest at Rapala.com. StarTron. Cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems. Yeti Coolers. Built for the wild. CCA Florida, the voice of recreational anglers for over 30 years. Strike Zone Fishing, your fish hunt paddle store. Guy Harvey, marine wildlife artist and conservationist. And Sea Sucker, vacuum mounting systems.
Serious fishermen demand quality equipment on their boats and on shore. That's why Florida boaters have trusted Decks and Docks for over 20 years for dock lumber, hardware, and accessories. Tough products that stand up to the roughest environments, and elegance to please the most discerning homeowner tastes. Decks and Docks, supplying waterfront customers with lumber, decking, and seawall, with 10 locations across Florida.
When we created the Silverado Rally Edition, we figured Why stop there? These 4 new Silverado Special Editions are just the beginning. From the fastest growing full-size pickup brand of 2015, Chevy's Silverado. Or choose the Silverado All-Star with a total value of $8,000 when you finance through select lenders. And find your bonus tag and get $2,000 cash allowance on select Silverado crew cabs in stock.
Hi, I'm here at the Power Pole headquarters with your Power Pole tip of the week. This week we're going to talk a little bit about one of the cool accessories for your Power Pole anchor, and that's the drift paddle. Now, if you've ever needed to slow your boat down in windy conditions, you may have tried to use a traditional sea anchor or drift sock. With the drift paddle, you can virtually eliminate that. This simply attaches to your Power Pole and deploys using the same remote control, but it has a couple of unique advantages over a drift sock. Number one, it's got 7 different locking positions so you can rotate it. That allows you to actually change the angle of the bow relative to your drift. Another great feature is that this can be deployed at different depths. So if you want to dial in the perfect speed, you can raise and lower this in the water column. That allows you to dial in that perfect speed for whatever bait that you're throwing. And that's your Power Pole tip of the week.
Now we're checking in with Captain Jim Ross in the Central East region, who I know is particularly excited for this weekend, right, Jim? What are you doing?
Well, you know what? This coming week should be a really good one if anything goes according to plan. Captain Glenn Austin has had a serious plan for his report this week. He's been fishing the Sebastian Inlet, and he's been using pinfish and pigfish and croakers with his clients, and a little bit of mullet too. He's putting that on some 40 to 50 pound Suffolk leader with an 8/0 VMC circle hook, and he is getting some really nice sized fish right now. He's also saying that the better bite is actually on the incoming tide right now, Brie. And you know what? Normally that's an outgoing tide spot, but right now incoming tide's even better. And he's also saying the guys fishing the surf right now are catching some fish between Vero Beach and Bonsteel Park, right there in that first little trough. As you're stepping off of the beach, look for those fish hanging right in there real tight to the shoreline. Now he's given me a photo this week. He took George Hibbler out there at the inlet, and this is one of the nice sized fish that George caught with Captain Glenn this past week.
Wow, that's a good one there, Jim. All right, what else you got for me inshore, Bub?
Our other fish is the redfish inshore, and they've been roaming the flats in the Mosquito Lagoon and the northern Indian rivers. And Captain Troy Perez has been on them really, really good lately. He's been getting good numbers from first light until about 8 a.m., and he's using cut baits in the sandy potholes, mainly in the central portion of the Mosquito Lagoon. And then, you know, there's ladyfish, mullet, different chunks like that. On the channel edges will get you those 15 to 30 pound class fish, and that's what Captain Travis Tanner has been doing this week, working those edges and putting his clients on those oversized fish right now. Now, if you want smaller fish, 2 to 3, 3 to 4 pound fish, look at the residential docks and mangroves in the Mullet Creek area, the Cocoa Beach area, and the Merritt Island area. And if you put a live shrimp on a hookup jig head, you can catch some of those nice little slot-sized fish to take home with you. Now, rolling offshore, Rick, we've got sailfish right now, and it's kind of interesting because we're not really known for sailfish here in the Central East region at this time of the year, but we've had quite a few fish showing up in the 40 to 75 foot depth. Anywhere where you see the bonitas blowing up on the glass minnows out there, you can try to find those sailfish working around those bonita pods. Most of the guys are slow trolling with live baits like sardines or pilchards or pogies, and they're catching sails that way, but you can also troll a chin-weighted naked ballyhoo. Those small ones in particular are really good baits to use for sailfish. And there's a lot of floating weed patches out there right now with little flying fish and other baits around them, and those are definitely worth investigating. Fred Cisneros pulled up to one looking for some triple tail the other day and had 2 sailfish swimming in circles underneath his boat. Of course, the only thing he had was shrimp to throw at him, so they didn't really jump on it. But just goes to show you, be ready because you never know when they're going to pop up. And then our other species this week offshore is the mangrove snapper. Now, we're coming up to another full moon, and if it's anything like last month, you're going to have a really good chance of catching some good-sized snapper on your nighttime excursions. Most of the anglers are going out there and getting on their snapper hole just before dark, starting their chum slick, and then as the water calms for nighttime and the sun goes down and the moon comes up, that's when those fish come up to their transoms, so get those chunk baits. Now, right now, they're getting mangrove snapper anywhere from about 3 pounds up to about 10 pounds on these nighttime trips. And then around the week off, I wanted to talk again about the snook because Captain Mike Mann is a guide up in the Mosquito Lagoon area. He's been fishing up around the New Smyrna docks and other structures that are up there, those mangroves and some of those oyster bars up there. And he took Bill Payne out the other day from Orlando, and he got a really nice one on a live pigfish out from under a dock.
All right, thank you so much, Jim. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hookup lure hotspots from the Central East region. Captain Jim says that inshore, we're going to go to the Mosquito Lagoon for trout. And we're going to throw skitter walks early in the morning for those trout at dawn and dusk near the schools of mullet. And then offshore, sharks along the area beaches use large chunks of bonita or barracudas on a standard bottom rig with 270-pound of cable, leader, large VMC, heavy-duty circle hooks are going to work well, as you know, Brie.
As I know. Okay, coming to you from the Northeast region is Captain Tommy Derringer. How's it looking, or should I say, how's it snooking this weekend, Tommy?
Oh, boy.
It's snooking pretty good there, Brie.
That's good.
We're at the far north end of where you're probably going to find some snook, but, the snook fishing, it's been pretty good this year in the strike zone Northeast region. Now, late summer through the fall, which is right about right now, is the best time of year to target snook in my region. And no matter what time of year it is, those snook are going to feed best during low light conditions, and that means getting on the water super early or a little later in the day. Now, of course, the nighttime fishing is good as well, especially around the area bridges and the dock lights. Now, High Bridge and Flagler and the Palm Coast Bridge are both holding some snook at night right now. And the south end, down near the Tomoka Basin, is where you're going to find some of the biggest populations of snook in the region. And right now, you're going to want to fish the outgoing tide along any of those mosquito ditches in the Tomoka Basin as those snook are setting up, waiting on the bait to get flushed out. I spoke with Captain Chris Herrera from PalmCoastFishing.com, and he tells me he's been seeing quite a few snook laid up in the Palm Coast canals this week. Now, they've been chasing topwaters and subsurface plugs right as the sun comes up. This is also the time of year we catch some snook in St. Augustine and all the way up in Jacksonville. If you're looking to target snook, you're going to want to look in the back of some of the longer, bigger creeks where the water tends to get brackish. Some good ones in the region to check out are going to be Pablo Creek in Jacksonville and the Pellicer Creek in St. Augustine. Now, both are going to hold some nice snook this time of year. And speaking of nice snook, I've got a picture here. This is Will James with a nice Northeast Florida line sider he caught with me right near the Guana River in St. Augustine.
What else you got for us inshore, Tommy?
All right, in the last few days, Rick, we've had a serious run of some 2 to 4 inch finger mullet throughout the entire region, and it's really got those trout fired up. I spoke to Captain Tony Bozzella from TonyBozzella.com. He tells me the trout bite has been really good up in Jacksonville this week. With it being so hot during the day, his best trout bite has been at dusk, and then after the sun goes down around the dock lights. He's targeting those docks in both the intercoastal near Mayport and in the St. Johns River. Now, Captain Tony says he's casting a free-line live shrimp or a slow-sinking soft plastic up current of those dock lights to catch those trout. Now, I've been fishing for those trout up real shallow in St. Augustine this week, first thing in the morning. I'm looking for those big concentrations of those finger mullet I was talking about up on the flat. And we've been tossing the smaller Rapala skitter walk, and it seems to really mimic those finger mullet perfectly right now. I got a photo here of one of those trout we caught on that little skitter walk. This is Jim Marmon with a beast of a trout he caught with me this week in the south end of St. Augustine.
All right, let's go offshore, Tommy.
All right, I spoke to Captain Luke Thatcher from FishStAugustine.com, and he tells me the grouper fishing offshore Jacksonville is really good right now. He's catching good numbers of scamp and red grouper in the 140 to 160 foot depth. Captain Luke says they're holding on 2 to 4 foot ledges on the hard bottom. He likes to sabiki up some live sardines, cigar minnows, and grunts for live bait, but he'll also use some frozen Boston mackerel as well. He says he's using a 20-foot, 80 to 100-pound leader and a 8 to 10-aught BMC circle hook depending on the size of the bait. And he says one really good tip is to make sure you keep your bait a few cranks off the bottom so you can really feel that bite and get the grouper away from their hole before they rock you up. I got one last photo here. This is Captain Luke Thatcher and Taj Gwizdak with a nice red grouper they caught offshore Jacksonville.
All right, what
Now,
else you
also
got?
offshore, you know, I've been talking about kingfish last couple of weeks, and I'm going to talk about them again. I spoke to Captain Scotty Shank from FullHouseFishingCharters.com, and he tells me the big kings are still on the beach. Now, there have been some big schools of glass minnows in close to the beach this week, and the kingfish, as well as the Spanish mackerel, are really feeding on those guys. Now, Scotty tells me he's been slow trolling anywhere from about 30 to 50 feet, and he's really looking for those concentrations of glass minnows as well as some pogies. Now, most of those kings that are being caught in close to the beach are in the 20 up to even 50-pound range. Now, Captain Scotty also says there's a bunch of kingfish a little bit smaller in the 10 to 20-pound range on the nearshore wrecks from about 10 to 15 miles, both out of St. Augustine and Jacksonville. And if you're looking for good numbers of fish, that's probably going to be the way to go. You can catch them trolling the usual live baits, as well as some diving plugs or even some spoons.
All right, Tommy, great report from the Strike Zone Northeast region. We're going to go ahead and take a look at Captain Tommy's hot spots. Inshore, redfish and trout up on the flats first thing in the morning on the higher tide. Look for the concentration of finger mullet and toss the small skitter rock around the bait schools. And then offshore, kingfish and Spanish mackerel along the beaches throughout the entire region. Look for the birds and glass minnows and slow troll live pogies or mullet.
Scotty doesn't know. That was his, okay, that was a song anyway. I digress. And now the moment you've all been waiting for. Audience, can I get a drum roll, please, with your feet or with your hands? The winner of our Decks and Docks Makeover Contest is...
Who?
Jeff and Vera Bruce from Gainesville, Florida. Look at them.
Congratulations,
Congratulations, guys. That's so exciting. I think, Rick, when they claim their prize, we should get a picture of and put it on the show.
Yeah,
what do you
after
think?
they get done reinventing their dog.
Claim their prize.
That's it.
Congratulations, guys. All right, coming right up, we have the Coast to Conservation Minute Tip. And then with only one more region to go, that could only be the Panhandle. So stay alert. We'll be right back on the Chevy, Florida Insider Fishing Report.
The Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Chevrolet, find new roads. Yamaha, reliability starts here. Suffix, the world's most hardcore fishing line. The IGFA, conservation through education. Get your hands wet. Florida Outdoor Experience. Captain Harry's Fishing Supply Company. Best parts, best prices. Bennett Auto Supply. And there's no stopping Okuma.
Introducing Helmmaster, Yamaha's first fully integrated digital boat control system. With Helmmaster, you can start your outboards with a swipe of a fob and control them with a single lever. Outboard trim and steering friction adjust automatically as you accelerate and decelerate. Adjust engine speed with the touch of a button. The Helmmaster joystick provides the means to navigate and dock precisely with confidence and ease. Take control of your next vessel with Helmmaster at your command.
There's no specials on days like today. Nothing's cheap. Nothing's on the house. You can have your happy hour, but only after you've paid the full price.
Remember the glory days of gasoline? It's just not made the same anymore.
Kick your gas into gear with StarTron. Pump up the performance in all of your engines. Cure the problems of ethanol with the power of enzymes. And maximize your mileage every time you drive. Kickstart your engines with StarTron.
There are two cages in this room. The one on your right is made out of high-strength steel, and the other is made of aluminum. Now I'm going to release a 700-pound grizzly bear into the room, so you better pick a cage and get in it.
This is crazy. Oh my goodness. Ooh.
Why did you pick the steel cage?
Harder for the bear to get in the steel.
You want to see something else made with high-strength steel? That's the Chevy Silverado, made with high-strength steel for high-strength dependability.
Beautiful. This is highly irregular.
Today's Coastal Conservation Minute is about a decompression tool. Now guys, we often know that when we go out and we're in deep water, the fish comes up and he's bloated. Now what we gotta do is decompress him or vent him. And unfortunately, there's a lot of guesswork in venting. Do we use 2 fingers by the pectoral fin or 3 fingers? And more often than not, we're poking holes in the fish and we're not sure what we're doing. But the Sequelizer takes out all the guesswork. Now the Sequelizer has 3 settings, 50-foot depth, 100-foot depth, and 150. And basically what you do is you preset the depth that you're fishing in, and then you're gonna hook this in the fish's mouth, and using a 3-way swivel, we're gonna actually resuscitate the fish as we let him down. So as he's going down, he's actually being resuscitated, and when he gets to the 50-foot depth, he's gonna pop off. We've proven that this really, really works very well, and it's about Coastal's Conservation Minute this week is about the decompression tool.
All right, well, we don't want to make Captain Pat Deneen in the Panhandle region feel left out of the snook craze, but you kind of are, and that's okay because there's plenty of other fishing to be had, right, Pat?
Yeah, we're left out for the snook, but we do have a bunch of redfish on the grass. And the eastern and central parts of Choctaw Bay, Captain Troy's and Hunter Forbes with 38 Guide Service have been having some real nice catches on their touring charters, fishing live pogies and pilchards, either free lining them or fishing them under a cork. And they're finding them on the flats between Midway Bridge and 4 Mile Point and around the point towards Hogtown Bayou. And they're schooling fish, so when you get a bite, soak that area really well. You're more than likely to pick up several more, if not many more redfish. And they're all in that slot, 20 to 24 inch size fish. The bigger fish are going to be in the passes and on the channels near the passes right now. Especially on that falling tide is the best time to get the bites. The live croaker and LY on a slip sinker rig is a good way to go. Most of these fish are going to be well over slot, 30 plus inches long. Staying inshore, the triple tail bite has picked up nicely in Apalachicola Bay. You're going to find them on the day markers, the buoys throughout the bay, as well as the crab trap floats, particularly between Indian Pass and on the north or the mainland side of the bay from Indian Pass all the way back to Apalachicola. On the outgoing tide, you often find some nice free-swimming fish outside of West Pass or Indian Pass. You're going to catch them with either conventional tackle or fly tackle. If you're using conventional tackle, either spinning or casting, load it up with 20 to 30-pound braid. Use a popping cork, about 3 feet of a 30-pound leader, and then a live shrimp or a small little peanut pogie is the way to go. Cast well ahead of the fish or well ahead of the float that the fish is hanging on. Slowly bring your bobber back to it and stop it, and then let the fish find your bait. If you're going to use fly tackle, use a 9 to a 10 weight. These are pretty good sized fish. A shrimp pattern or a streamer pattern is the way to go. The triple tails at Apalachicola are often well over 15 pounds, so you can have some good quality fish there. Moving offshore, it's a long way to the blue water, so the offshore guys have been spending a lot of time bottom fishing or focusing on bottom species. In the past several weeks, the grouper fishing has been pretty consistent throughout the Panhandle. They're catching gags, scamps, and a few red groupers. The better fishing has been in 200-plus foot depths of water. Captain BJ teams of the Reel and Scripps out of Destin, they spent a couple of days this past weekend south and east of Destin in good ways. And they came back with a real nice catch of scamps and gags. You want to use enough lead on a slip sinker rig to hold the bottom, a heavy leader, and a circle hook baited with either a live finfish, a mingo snapper, or a butterfly dead bait, an octopus, or a Boston mackerel will all work out real well. Between spots, make sure you troll a wahoo lure or two because there have been quite a few of those picked up by the bottom guys moving from spot to spot. The gags are running up to over 40 pounds, and the scamps are running about 6 to 15 pounds. And then offshore still, the amberjack bite has been good on the big metal wreck. With the amberjacks, to catch the better fish, it's all about the bait. So make sure when you leave the pass, you have the right baits. And even if it takes a little longer to catch those baits, spend the time to do it. It's going to pay off in the long run. You want to look for lively, strong swimming minnows like blue runners, bluefish, threadfin herrings, or even those oversized true herrings. They all were great for amberjacks because they're active. Use a slip sinker rig with a long leader, which gives that bait plenty of leash to run around. And when you set up either above or just off to the side of the wreck, drop your bait down to the depth that you're marking fish. When you get a bite, kind of drift off or pull off the wreck so you don't get wrecked. The fish doesn't find the structure and cut you off. But make sure you keep fishing a bait or two because that one fish often fires up some more bites. Near shore, the jacks are shorter, but they're still in the they're shorter, but there's still some good keeper fish to be had. You just got to wade through the let-goes. And there's a photo there of Donna Clark from Santa Rosa Beach. She and her husband Steve fished with me this week. She caught that light tackle jack on a barge just right outside of Destin. It was Donna's birthday. She also ended up catching some cobia, some redfish, and bonita. So she had a really, really nice day on the water for her birthday.
All right, thank you so much, Pat. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the blue water outrigger hotspots from the Panhandle region. Inshore, sightfish, redfish on Crab Island. During the falling tide, you're going to cast unweighted live baits or light-colored soft plastic swim baits. And then offshore, natural bottom east of Alaska wreck for gags and scamp groupers using live or buthered fly bait.
Pat's always all about the bait, Do you hear what he said? All about, okay.
I got it.
Oh, thanks. Okay, well, we've got some awesome shows planned for y'all, and
I thought it was about the butt.
Duper one. What?
I thought that's what the song went, all about that butt or something.
Yeah, just let that one
Keep
go.
going.
We have an awesome show planned for you next week because he'll be gone. So stick around to find out what it is only on the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report. Just get off the boat, Rick.
All right.
Nice. Chevy's got 3 great deals to choose from this summer. Which works the best with your budget?
I'm drawn to the 0%. $1,000 cash back.
I've never ever thought about leasing a car until I saw that deal.
Which one's your favorite?
0%.
$1,000 always looks nice going in my pocket.
Sorry, I changed my mind.
Now let me tell you something that's super cool. You can choose any one of these deals on any of these cars.
Seriously? It's gorgeous, man. This is a nice car.
Oh, I like this stitching.
It's an easy choice. Find your tag and choose your deal for an extra summer bonus.
Yeah, this thing's pretty sweet.
I got my first Yamaha in 1994, and I still use that outboard in the Bahamas today. This Yamaha 130 has over 2,000 hours on it, and it sometimes sits for 6 months. I can always depend on it starting and performing like it did when it was new. Everybody knows Yamaha stakes their reputation on reliability, and for me, that Yamaha 130 is living proof. So if you're considering a Yamaha, I can tell you that reliability and performance is something that you can count on for a long time.
For over 30 years, Guy Harvey has been a true hero to marine life and conservation. And now he's sharing his inspiration with an exclusive image for the Guy Harvey Heroes Scratch-Off game from the Florida Lottery. Win up to $50,000, incredible sport fishing trips, and the opportunity to fish with Guy Harvey himself. Celebrate your everyday heroes and the freedom to play with the Guy Harvey Heroes Scratch-Off game today. The Florida Lottery. Just imagine.
Thanks for tuning in to the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram and Twitter to keep up with our captains, contests, and appearances. You never have to miss a show. You can find full episodes of the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report right on your YouTube channel. And make sure to check out our website for fishing reports in your region. Visit www.ChevyFloridaInsiderFishingReport.com for everything you need to know to stay hooked up. Next week on the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report, we are talking bonefish live from the beautiful Florida Keys. So be sure to tune in to Sun Sports every Thursday. Plus, you can catch repeats of the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report on Fridays and Saturdays. Check your local listings for times.
We will be at the beautiful Postcard Inn, formerly used to be the Holiday. Oh, yeah, Dave.
We will be here.
You will be doing new products. You don't have to worry about rigs and techniques. We'll cover that.
Okay.
But that'll be September 2nd. We're going to be filming that. So anybody wants to come see us in the Florida Keys, the first 100 people get a beautiful Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report ditty bag with all kinds of cool stuff.
I'm going to go down there and run back.
And
right,
Dave, Jim Ross, and I will be here.
All right, so let's take a look at some CCA Star Tournament photos that we got this week. Now, Brie, the sad news is this particular picture is by Adam Dorr. He caught this tagged redfish, the 19th one, and guess what?
What?
He wasn't entered.
Oh, shocker.
It's so sad. And then this is Dora Edge in Redfish in Crystal River. She entered this in the Marathon Conservation Division. And then we have Linda McCauley in this big, beautiful snook in Yankeetown, which is up north. And she also entered that in the Conservation Star Division. And then we have Dylan, what's that, Brie? Cabral with this nice trout. Look, he's got it on the official measuring device, which you have to have. He put that in the Youth Scholarship Division. Good luck on that, Dylan. And then Haley Burnett with a beautiful Emerald Coast Redfish tournament. Guess what? She told all the guys to enter, and Adam caught that 19th fish, and he didn't enter. They didn't listen to the woman.
women.
Guys, you gotta listen to the
Thank
girls.
you.
As much as I hate to admit it, they know all. They see all. They're like the 1972 Dolphins. They're undefeated. So why do we just continue
This is a great
to
show.
fight
You
with
just
them?
made up everything you did wrong to me tonight. Love it.
See you guys
Bye.
later.
See you in the Keys. Woo.